Ooh, I got a letter from Flynn, and he's not done yet. So I want to talk about that, and I also have some information about a 1,000,000-person march that's going to happen in D.C., and a Twitter feud with Jeff Sessions and Ilhan Omar, and then another one with Richard Goodell and Eric Swalwell. So stick with me, folks, and I'll get to them all. Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and oh wow, I've got several tabs open here, so let's get going on them. The first one is this one that the 17th letter of the alphabet posted by Catherine Herridge, and she says, Republican-led Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee authorizes Senator Ron Johnson to issue subpoenas. FBI, Crossfire Hurricane, State Department contact, author, Steele dossier, and unmasking by former government officials. And then she has them listed down here. So the names, well, it's kind of hard to see on here, but there's some pretty good names, and they're people that you would most likely know. So we have James Baker, John Brennan. I do not know the significance of the highlights, so sorry about that, but there's supposedly some significance to them. It's not something within my knowledge base, so I don't know the difference between them, except it seems to me like the ones in pink are people who directly were involved in the Hillary Clinton email thing, the mid-year exam investigation. So I don't know if that's it or not. But yeah, some of the names that you really want to hear from, pretty much all of them. I want to hear from them all. And look, ooh, Mr. We've never seen him, Joe Pientka. I'd like to see him. I want to hear what he has to say, because he's the one that actually wrote the notes. When Peter Strzok was interrogating General Flynn, if you want to say it that way, he's the one that actually took the notes. So, thought that was interesting. I'll leave the links to all of these down below, and you can go back and look at them if you want to. This is a letter from General Flynn. Oh, this is so good. Okay, here we go. He sent this to Scott Kesterson. Kesterson. He sent this to Scott Kesterson, and I'm not real sure who that is, and I don't know how Bards FM got it, but hey, here we go. Scott, if the United States wants to survive the onslaught of socialism, if we are to continue to enjoy self-government, to secure the God-given individual blessings of liberty for ourselves, for our families, then good Americans must accept that each has a moral obligation to participate in the political life of our country. The art and exercise of self-governance requires active participation. Voting matters, but it is only a part-time engagement of the American citizenry and doesn't go far enough if we are to survive as a constitutional republic. I want to see more of our veteran and law enforcement communities become involved in the political life of America. We are a participatory experiment in governing. Without a greater commitment, we will continue our slide into the abyss of socialism, and we must not be intimidated by the smear campaigns that will most certainly come with greater and more active participation. We will only keep America if we dedicate ourselves to freedom's victory over the socialist monster by our good citizens accepting greater responsibility. And then he puts this line, I am not done. God bless. Oh. Yeah, he's not done. Guys, here's the thing that dawned on me as I was reading this, and I think several people have gotten this, is, when this dismissal actually happens, he can talk. Right now he's under a gag order. He can't say anything. And I think this is why they are stretching this stupid thing out, because they want to keep him silent as long as possible. Because once he starts talking, when he's free of this and he can start talking and saying what's going on, oh, holy schmoly, we're going to see some great stuff. So I am anxious to hear that, and I love hearing I am not done. No, he's not. I'd like to see him run for some office. I think he would be tremendous. Oh, can you imagine, if he'd end up running for president? Oh, that would be great. How about... actually, here's the ticket I would like. I would like to have Admiral Mike Rogers, and then as Vice President General Flynn. I really admire Mike Rogers, and I think he's extremely brilliant. Okay, so either way, I would take him either way, but I'd love to see those two on a ticket. I think it'd be wonderful. Anyway, so let me go on. That just made my day. But then, speaking of Flynn, look at this from Marsha Blackburn. Lead an insurrection against President Trump? No worries. MSNBC is hiring. Yes. Can you believe this? They hired her as a legal analyst. Can you believe it? I cannot even fathom this. The woman gets fired from the FBI for conduct and everything. And what do? They hire her. Oh man, if people cannot see the connection between MSNBC and CNN and all of these coup participants, there's something wrong with them. Oh, I just cannot believe that. Well, anyway, guess what's happening in D.C.? Well, Mayor Bowser just officially renamed the section of 16th Street in front of the White House Black Lives Matter Plaza. Yep, had the sign put up and everything. And so this is the letter, and I brought it up bigger, but this is to the New Jersey governor. And she says, I request that you remove your National Guard from our city. They were brought to my district without my knowledge and request. I appreciate your service, but your presence encroaches on the rights of 705,000 tax-paying residents. Okay, here's the actual letter itself, and I have no control over it. It's either big or small. There's no in-betweens when I do it this way. But here's what she actually says. And she says, I'm writing to make you aware of the attached letter I transmitted to the White House last evening, requesting the removal of all extraordinary federal law enforcement and military presence from Washington, D.C. immediately. The New Jersey National Guard is one of the forces that were brought to the District of Columbia without my knowledge and not at my request. I commend the guardsmen and women from New Jersey for rapidly mobilizing to answer the president's request. However, as we have increasingly seen in recent days, their presence is unnecessary and may be counterproductive to ensuring the protests remain peaceful. Thank you very much for your prompt attention to this matter. So, and then, if you have questions, that's who to reach out to. All right, so that's her statement there. And you gotta kind of wonder why she's so adamant about getting rid of them before this. Because supposedly this weekend, organizers say 1 million people are coming to protest in D.C. If coronavirus is really as dangerous as the media claimed just 3 weeks ago, this is basically a biological attack on the nation's capital, which, yes, it would be, but I think it's something much worse, and that is these people are wanting to go after the White House. I think they're trying to bump up a bunch of people, and they've set it up. So if you're aware of the map, this is one that one of the researchers did. And over here's the White House, and here's the street right here. So basically, it's like directing people right into the White House. And here's where they're making sure there's no National Guard and everything they're going to need to be able to march right down here. And I think they're going to try to breach the walls and get across. I think they will. Who knows how many of them they're going to have, because I don't know. There are crazy people in this world. I don't know why anyone would go with them, but there's a lot of people who are deceived. And speaking of deception, just let me take time right now and just tell you real quick. I told you, I think in the previous video, that I was going to try to get some Black Lives Matter people on record, because I had seen them right downtown, in the center of our town. Well, I went to try to get some of them today, and yesterday they had maybe 25, 30 people there. It was several, but I was unable to stop at that time, and I didn't have my camera or anything. And so I couldn't do it yesterday. But today I thought, okay, yeah, it's Friday night. I'll go. Evidently, Black lives don't matter much on Friday nights because there were 9 there today. And I got to tell you, they didn't really look like the kind of people that would be too articulate. So I bypassed on that. Well, and part of it was because I went to the first corner. There's 4 corners on this intersection. Of course, there's 4 corners. Well, they went to the first one, and then they got kicked off that because they were on private property. So they went across the street to the next one, and then they got kicked out of that one. And so then they got sent to the third one. And I thought, by then, I'm not following these people. I don't know where they're going. Some of them were trying to walk to the courthouse, which was a block away. And if they'd have gone there, they'd have been fine because they could have stood there forever. But they didn't like that because it wasn't getting enough traffic, I guess. And none of them really looked like they knew what they were doing. They had no clue. They really didn't. So anyway, I didn't stop. I didn't bother. But I did get to talk to a couple of residents that live near there, and I had a really good chat with them. So it was definitely worthwhile. It just was something that, I don't know. I may try tomorrow, but I really have a family commitment tomorrow, so I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get them. Not that it matters. But so anyway, back to this. I do think that this could be something that they are orchestrating. They're not going to be like the people that I saw today, because they actually will have direction, and there are going to be some people organizing this, I'm sure. So, speaking of organizations, I wanted to leave you this. I don't know where it came from. All I know is that the researchers have it. I don't know where the link is to the actual document. But there are pictures here, and you can see with the pictures that it has to do with, it says, if you're reading this, it's because someone close to our movement trusted you with it. Please do not distribute to anyone who may attempt to harm or denigrate what we are doing. So, yeah, it goes through, and it says, this manual outlines where we've been, where we're at, and where we're headed within the next 100 years. Oh my goodness. 100 years. And if you go through and read some of these, I mean, there's several of them here. Control the media is part of it. And this one, creating a culture of tolerance, which I just think is so funny because they are so intolerant. And when you read through this document, seriously, folks, you read through this document, and it is one of the most intolerant groups I have ever seen. And if you've been watching the Project Veritas videos that they've done, the undercover with Antifa, oh my, I mean, yeah. Like this one. This is tolerance right here, isn't it? Believe the way we do, or you will be fired. And this is talking about in business. The next crucial step is to threaten the livelihoods of anyone who dares speak out against our agenda. They are, after all, fascists who are clearly racist, homophobic, or misogynistic. You can't run a company with someone like that in your midst. It's just amazing. But hey, that's tolerant. It's a tolerant group. They're so tolerant. So I will leave the link to this down below if you want to read through all those pages. Again, I don't know where the document came from. I can't vouch for its authenticity. Just be aware of that. I haven't had time to go on. Maybe if you take some of these links, you can go on to the actual board and you can find out, like view it here and see if you can find it, because it was in the board before and I didn't, I had so many things coming at me yesterday, just trying to keep up with all the information coming out, that I really didn't spend much time checking out, the notables here. So it could be in a previous notable. I don't know for sure, but I'm going to leave the link. You make of it what you want. I don't know if it's authentic or not. If it's authentic, it's quite a stunning document. And so I just wanted to present that to you. And not everything that's been going on has been sad, because here we have the Atlanta National Guard, and they've been occupying themselves doing the Macarena. So I don't know. I don't understand. They must have been bored. But you know what? If it's going to make, better communication and more connections with the people in the neighborhood, go for it. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. It's just kind of odd. But hey, that means people aren't throwing bottles at them. Go for it. And then I got to show you this because once again, Eric Swalwell and Richard Grenell have gotten into it. And so it started out with this post. U.S. Park Police, it was a mistake to say no tear gas was used in Lafayette Square. It was a mistake on our part for using, quote, tear gas because we just assumed people would think CS or CN, two common forms of tear gas. All right, and that's from Vox, VOX. Okay, so this was the article from Vox. Well, Swalwell, I'm going to have to go backwards on this. Swalwell sends this. Hey, Richard Grenell, would you like to walk back your, quote, no tear gas was used propaganda? Okay. And then he says no, because once again you push fake news. See the official statement here. And that takes you to here, which is the statement from United States Park Police Acting Chief Gregory T. Monahan about the actions taken over the weekend to protect life and property. And he says, reiterating his previous statements regarding the actions taken over the weekend to protect life and property at Lafayette Park, the United States Park Police Acting Chief Gregory T. Monahan issued the following statement today. United States Park Police officers and other assisting law enforcement partners did not use tear gas or OC scat shells to close the area at Lafayette Park in response to violent protesters. Oh, there it is. Oh, but what's really funny on this one is if you go down here and you look at some of the comments. Truth is troublesome to the Democrat agenda. I like this one. Swalwell would be an expert on gas, especially on live TV. Methinks fart boy doth protest too much. Oh, so anyway, and Richard Grenell, I think at this point, I think Swalwell is hitting on you. His infatuation with you is off the charts. So, anyway, again, it was just something you had to just see because some of these Twitter battles are hysterical. Well, guess what? Here's another one. This is between Ilhan Omar and Jeff Sessions. Now, I never thought Jeff Sessions would be somebody going after somebody on Twitter, but boy. So here we have Ilhan Omar saying, the Minneapolis Police Department has proven themselves beyond reform. It's time to disband them and reimagine public safety in Minneapolis. Thank you to this person for your leadership on this. Okay, and here's the article and everything. Well, of course, Jeff Sessions needed to say something about that, and so he responded by radical leftists like Ilhan Omar and the rest of, quote, the squad are dead wrong. Don't defund the police, defund the thought police. Good comment there, Jeff. Well, she came back, and she had to say, you called the NAACP un-American, and you thought the Ku Klux Klan were okay until you learned they smoked pot. Maybe sit this one out. Okay, I'm pretty sure that Jeff Sessions never thought the KKK was okay. I'm just positive on that one. Well, then Jeff comes back and he says, you brushed off the 9/11 attacks as, quote, some people did something. You've celebrated anti-Semitism. You have a habit of rooting for the bad guys, and you should stop unfairly demonizing our brave law enforcement officers. I, for one, will never sit out defending those who defend us. And then he said this, how's your brother, by the way? Oh, wow. I really cannot believe that he did that. Ba-boom. Good job, Jeff. Oh, how's your brother, by the way? That was wonderful. So I'll leave the link to that thread down below because it was good. And then this, I'm not going to read through this because YouTube does have some guidelines imposed on us where we're not supposed to give any possible questions about official narratives. So I'm going to leave the link to this so you can check for yourself and read this and see if that might be something that there's some questions in there that maybe sound plausible to you or that raise questions in your mind. Okay? So the link will be down below. All right, and speaking of facts, facts have been, quote, no barrier to the mainstream media's planned narrative about the unrest around America. And this is by Molly Hemingway. And she has an article here on the Federalist. Media falsely claimed violent riots were peaceful and that tear gas was used. The media glommed onto the narrative that Trump was a monster who tear gassed peaceful protesters to do something meaningless. None of that was true. Okay, so I just wanted to point that out to you on that. And then this is something that I thought is interesting but not surprising to me. CNN person with direct knowledge says Anderson Cooper has been planning a town hall for months with Gary Cohn, Jim Mattis, John Kelly, and McMaster to air in September. They will make stuff up and say that Trump is unfit for office. Mattis and Kelly signed on. Cohn and HR on the fence. Gonna be interesting on that. So we'll see. I'm sure, again, not surprising about that. Well, I wanted to point this out to you, and in case you have not heard this part, I want to just play a little bit of it, and I highly recommend this whole video because it gives you some highlights of what went on with the Rosenstein testimony in case you haven't watched it all. It takes out the Democrats, which is always good to do, and it gives you some of the insights that the Republicans were trying to give, but she does a good job of evaluating body language. And she mentioned at the beginning that Rod Rosenstein is really easy because he has a lot of tells. His body really wants to tell you the truth. And so from his body language, it's very easy for her to read it. And so I wanted to share this with you. This is Senator Kennedy. He's got to be one of my favorites. He really is, because he says it plain and simple. And so here's a question that he poses to Rosenstein.
And y'all, I'm not just putting it on you, but y'all would have found that the Steele dossier was unadulterated BS. And you would have found that some people at the FBI had been lying to you, lying about on the warrant applications. And maybe you would have said, wow, does the Mueller investigation really need to be trying to put Carter Page and General Flynn? I mean, what's going on here? But nobody did that. And that bothers me.
Yep. I appreciate your question, Senator. First of all, I have the report open to the appropriate page. You are correct with regard to Inspector Horowitz's conclusions. He did point out that employees are entitled to political views. And I think it's important to recognize, I'm sure we have people with strong views on the other side too. The question is, are you following the rules?
We have people with strong views on the other side too. I like how he actually puts that away from himself. He lifts that arm up in his hand and puts it away from himself without looking at it. So it's not his views. That's all you need to know right there. It's not part of his views. He's with the other view of Strzok and Page.
Rules. And are you articulating those views in a way that will cast doubt upon the integrity of the process?
And you notice those views, Strzok and Page's views, which we now know are his views as well. He uses that hand that he put Strzok and Page on to literally point at himself. You're questioning the integrity just because they have views. And that's why Rod Rosenstein is so easy to read, because it's too damn easy.
So there you go. I think it's a really good video. I'll leave the link down below and you can watch the whole thing then, because it's worth watching. She did a good job with him. And, when you start hearing these different things and you see how they play out, how the person actually is doing different things, then it makes you more sensitive when you're watching others, and you can start picking up on those tells and see when they're really telling the truth and when they're not. And the last thing I want to leave you with is this, because President Trump retweeted this, and I think it's a wonderful message to end on. Here's Kaya Jones, and she says, "Here's my grandparents and great-grandparents. They are rolling in their graves at the hatred that still exists. I am biracial, and I am a Christian who supports our country and our president. We are all children of God. Don't let people make you think we've not always been hand in hand." And there she posted a picture. I think it's wonderful. You know, this is really the truth out there. There are a lot of people that are like this. I mean, this is a blended family, and this is not a recent picture. I mean, this picture's been around for a while, and you can tell that even then, this family, very happy family, and they're biracial. It's okay. There have been a lot of those. Now, I understand. I'm not saying that there has not been a lot of discrimination over the years. There certainly has been. But right now, people are being lied to, and they're being told that there's more racial tension than there really is. And so I understand there is still an unfairness between the color of our skin, but when we stop looking at the color of people's skin and we judge them by their character, as Martin Luther King Jr. said, that's when we start to get past all this. And for 8 years, we were told from the last administration that the color of the skin made a difference. Isn't it time that we went back to saying, you know what, we're all just different shades of brown, so get over it, folks. We're all the same human race. And that's what I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.